Welcome back. You're watching the GST Centimeter, and we're discussing the changes that have come about in the new return filing format that has been put up by the CBIC. Let's go back across to Timsy now in terms of the taxpayer identification. Timsy, because that is where we're getting a lot of queries, so let's just take our viewers through that once again.
Well, as you said, when it comes to the taxpayer classification and how it needs to be moved, this is the form that you need to see. The first identification happens here. Would you like to file a nil return? That's what it says. So you need to, if you say yes, it will automatically take you, the system will automatically take you to the nil return filing form. Similarly, if your turnover is up to 5 crores, again, yes or no. You can choose yourself where to mark whether you come under this category or not, and it will take you to the form which leads to exactly if your turnover is up to 5 crores. Similarly, if you go beyond, then you will see, would you like to change the reply to the questions regarding nature of supplies as filled in the questionnaire? So you can also change your replies when it comes to the nature of supplies, and you can choose accordingly, and this form, this particular direction will take you to exactly the form where you need to file what are the new changes that you're going to do.
Okay, this was a big pain point, the fact that you couldn't amend the information that you'd already put in. So this has now been adequately addressed?
No, these are two different things. Here what we are trying to do is create a prefixed profile for a small taxpayer. Depending on your profile, you pick up, and then you file the form which suits your requirement. As far as pain point which you pointed is concerned, that is basically whether you can revise the error which you have made or not. Yes, it is being addressed. For each tax period, a taxpayer will be able to file 2 amendment returns up to the September of next year when you close your books of account. So that it is not 1 but 2 opportunities to amend the errors which you have made in any tax period.
Okay, so you will get 2 opportunities to correct any errors that may have been made, which was a pain point earlier. But joining us now is also MS Money, Senior Partner at Deloitte. Money, thanks very much for joining us. Manish Sinha here with us. We're getting a lot of Twitter queries and our viewers writing in. Any questions that you have on the simplified return format that has been put out by the CBIC?
Yeah, Shireen, thanks. So the question that I have is that when I look at the changes which have been prescribed as far as the return is concerned, to me it appears that we are going back to invoice matching. Now, while I'm personally in favor of invoice matching, and I think it's a very good system to have, it would be nice because when I look at various provisions, including locking of invoices, the basis of taking ITC, and even in the amendment return that was just mentioned, bear in mind that the invoices cannot be amended. So all details except the invoices can be amended. So when I look at all of these together, would I be right in concluding that we are getting back to invoice matching in some form?
Okay, let me put that question to Manish Sinha. Are we getting back to invoice matching is the question that MS Money is asking. And also when you just address the issue about amendment, no changes can be made as far as invoices are concerned. All amendments can be made outside of invoices. So Money's question, is he to conclude then, therefore, that we're back to invoice matching?
Answer to both the question is no. Invoice matching practically is not possible on an IT environment for the reason that experience shows that if 2 people are uploading the same set of data, howsoever good their upload be, transcriptional errors will be adequate and therefore matching will be humanly impossible. You will have very large number of mismatches. This design in fact doesn't do matching. What it does is something akin to what you are used to on income tax side, that your employer uploads the taxes which he has deducted, and then you get to see as to that as a credit to you. So it's a unidirectional flow, and you pick up the deductions which have been made. So that's the kind of unidirectional flow which takes place when the seller uploads the invoice. You pick up those invoices and take credit from that. You do not fill the information of purchases, and therefore there is no matching. But what is taking place is you are picking the invoices using which you are taking the credit which your seller has uploaded. So it is not matching. Point number 1. Point number 2, can an invoice be amended? Yes, an invoice can be amended in the amendment return for which the form is there. Once you fill in the invoice number, the past information will come, and then you can amend that. It will be pretty similar to table 9 of present GSTR 1. the amendment facility available now will continue for invoices also.
Okay, so not going back to invoice
No.
matching, you're saying that that is not possible in the current IT system, and also that amendments to the invoice itself can also be made, can be possible. Mani, any more questions?
Just one more question, Shirin. Mr. Sinha, thanks for the clarification, very useful. The question that I have is, there is now a concept of locking of invoices, which did not exist in the earlier return. Now, every time the invoices are uploaded by the supplier, they can be locked by the recipients on the basis of which the ITC can be availed. So once an invoice is locked by the supplier, subsequent to that, would it still be possible to make changes to the invoice?
Mrs. Sinha, once an invoice is locked, Mani's question is, can subsequently changes be made?
Okay, for erroneous locking of invoice also change will be feasible, but your buyer, after having locked the invoice, would have taken credit. So the only condition is, and if you see the concept note, there is a specific, this point stands addressed there. The buyer will have to reverse the credit, and then the supplier can amend even a locked invoice.
Okay, so first the credit will have to be reversed
by
and
if taken.
If taken, and then the amendment can be made. Mani, does that adequately answer your question?
Yeah, we will just wait and watch, Shirin, in terms of how the system works, because the differences that we have seen in the return till now have introduced a lot of new concepts, and I think business will need to get used to this concept, such as locking of invoices and various other things. Right, so I think as we go along, we'll realize, what difficulties we face, and we will, take that up.
Yes, you've preempted a question that has come in. Has the government made any plans for transition from the existing return formats to the new one, specifically for closing unreconciled transactions for claiming credit going forward, Mr. Sinha?
What perhaps he is wanting to ask is, there would be some invoices which will be still in the float and they have not taken the credit. So when the new design comes in, after that only uploaded invoices will be available for credit. So what happens to those invoices which are in the pending queue, which you have kept as of now? Well, when the return comes, at that point in time, the first entry of the credit table, if you see, which is essentially in relation to pending invoices, the first time when it is launched, that has to be filled by you, and therefore you will be able to take credit of all the pending invoices. Thereafter, the system will start kind of maintaining a ledger of it. So yes, transition has been thought through, and no credit of yours will be lost in the process of transition. Rest assured of that.
Okay, Kunal Barjatia has sent in a question. He wants to know why there is no option to disclose exempt supplies in the Sahaj and Sugam forms. He believes this will create confusion while determining the total turnover as per GST and income tax.
Okay. The answer to that is, you see, in Sahaj and Sugam, we were trying to capture as little information as feasible, because we wanted to keep the form simple, and therefore the number of pieces of information which you had to upload needed to be low. As far as turnover is concerned, in the annual return, we can always capture whatever information which we are dropping here. So many of the information pieces have been dropped in Sahaj and Sugam in the monthly return, which will be captured in the annual return. So exempt and other kinds of supplies which do not create liability but create turnover will get captured in the annual return. You don't have to fill it 12 times, you have to fill it once at the end of the year, and therefore reconciliation will be feasible while keeping the transactional return simple.
Okay, and our next question comes into us from Amit Gyanchandani. Kunal, appreciate you writing into us, and we hope that that answers your question. Amit has sent us a question. He wants to know if he will be denied input tax credit if his supplier does not pay or upload the invoice till the due date of filing the return.
See, I do not know his size. I am presuming that he is a normal taxpayer. In the first 6 months during the transition, credit can be taken on an invoice which has not been uploaded. But after the transition of 6 months or so is over, credit will be available on the basis of invoices uploaded by the supplier. We are expecting eventually businesses to mature to a situation where after the transaction, the supplier is regularly uploading his invoice. buyer is able to see his invoice, and that way he gets assured about his credit and the locking takes place. That will actually bring a lot more assurance to the buyer and seller regarding the credit flows. That is the part of the design. As far as payment is concerned, if the supplier has not paid the tax, credit will still be available, barring a few exceptions where the supplier is perhaps a shell company or is a missing trader. Except for those exceptional situations, credit will be available, and if the tax is not paid, the effort of the tax administration will be to recover the tax from the supplier and not trouble the buyer with recovery forthwith. It can be an option in extreme situations, an exceptional situation, but not a regular occurrence.
Okay, we're at the end of our time here on the show. Before I let you go, Mr. Sinha, the three things that people need to keep in mind as we get used to these new forms.
Okay, first, get used to the idea of uploading your invoices, because that brings your buyers, that brings a buyer-seller kind of locking, and businesses become transparent. It becomes easy for you. The entire process is simple. It is upload, lock the invoices on which you have to take the credit, pay your taxes and move out. And third, you as a buyer will not be troubled with reversal of tax credit except for a few exceptional situations. So if you are doing your due diligence, credits will flow to you without any difficulty.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks to all of our viewers and our tax experts for sending in your queries. Thanks very much to Manish Sinha for joining us here and answering those questions. And thanks to our colleague Timsy Jaipuria for taking us through the details of the simplified return forms that have now been put up by the CBIC. On that note, it is time for us to wrap up the GST Centimeter. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with a lot more.